Hey everyone, hi. Welcome to part 3 of making a lily in cold porcelain, and hopefully today we'll get to finish it. These are some of the petals here. We're going to work on stamens, and this is one I've already done. Kind of hold it up there to the camera. You can see that. Okay, so we're going to start with cheap wire. I probably got this at Walmart. I'm going to cut about 6 inches. And I'm going to try to straighten it as much as possible. It's actually always better to buy wire on a roll instead of these flattened pieces. These, as you can see, when you unroll it, it's very crooked and it takes more time to straighten it. So it's better if you can buy it on a roll. And this just happens to be 26 gauge. So you start with your wire, and then I have some pre-made cold porcelain. This is just yellow. I believe I used yellow acrylic paint and mixed it in with the cold porcelain. So start with just a little bit, even smaller. And I'll use my glue. This is my PVA glue. I always use Aleene's tacky glue. That's what I make my cold porcelain with, so to make it compatible. Probably any PVA glue would work, but I just feel it should probably be the same one that's in your cold porcelain. And I'm just coating the wire with the glue, and I'll just roll off the excess. Okay. So I'll elongate the piece of clay, and then I'll flatten it. And I usually start in the middle when I'm going to coat. See, I've coated this wire with the clay, and I'll just coat this wire with the clay then. So I wrap it around, and then I start to roll it. Kind of pinch and twist, and your pinching controls how thin that coating of clay will be. And then I just go down the other way. Can back it up too, like go back up if it's uneven. I'm still having some allergy issues, so I hope you can hear me clearly and don't get too annoyed with my coughing. So I'm just twisting, and it's not going to be perfectly even, but I'm going to roll it between my palms, and that will help even out the clay. Oops, and I dropped stuff a lot. So you can twist it this way. If the wire is nice and straight, it's easier to do it between your palms. So this might look a little thicker. Yeah, thin that out just a little bit. It will shrink just a tiny bit, so it's all right if it's just a little bit thicker, because it'll the diameter will get smaller as it dries. Hopefully you're seeing this okay. I always roll extra clay on the back of my hand so that my fingertips don't have glue on them, which in this case I do. But I try to keep the glue back on the back of my hand instead of my fingertips, so that I'm not getting like brown glue bits onto my stem. So that's pretty well even for demonstration purposes anyway. And then I'm going to take a little bit more yellow, and it's about pea size, maybe a little smaller. And I kind of make a little log with pointed ends. It's a little bit big yet, so I'll take more of it off. Try that again. About like that. And then I'm just going to flatten it just a little bit. And then I have, this is a silicone wedge shaped little clay shaper. I bought these at Joann Fabrics. It comes in a pack of 4, I believe. Oops. They have different size balls on the end, which are good for shaping petals. And then the other ends have different shaped silicone tips for shaping clay. So in this case, you can use the silicone wedge shape. I need a little bit of cornstarch on there. It's too sticky. Flip it over. Okay, a little bit of cornstarch and then my tool should not stick so much. And I'm just making a groove down the center. And then I'm going to bend it just slightly. So that kind of looks like a little banana. Or a couple bananas. Normally I would let this dry before I would stick the little anther on top. Okay, so we're going to dip this tip in. So I just have the very tip. It has glue on it. And then take off the excess. And then I'll poke. This will work easier if it's dry. Just poke that on there. And then a lot of times, if I can get it to stop wiggling, they'll be just tipped like that. They're not quite centered. They're kind of tipped. Okay. So that's so far. And I'm going to get out my pollen, which is my powdered pastels with a little, you can use cornstarch with it, or I think in this case I used a little cornmeal. So open this up and get a small brush, should be good. This in there. So I can grab a hold of this without squashing the stem. And I'm just going to coat the tip of that with some glue. And then I'll dip it into the cornmeal. So you have a little anther ready to go. Okay, now we're going to move on to the center of the pistil. Okay, so close this up. Okay, and I'll show you real quick. Oops, let me bump the camera. This is wire that you can buy in the floral section of almost any store. And I usually cut it into thirds. But it's nice and straight, so for this application it works well. And I think I'll just use the same, let's see. I have a little green here. Mix a little green into it. And if you're wondering, yes, my desk is this messy or usually worse. So mix these together to get kind of a yellow green. My hands are a little, this is kind of sticky. So I'll use a little bit of Nivea cream, just a tiny bit, and it keeps the clay from getting that super tacky feel, and it makes it a little smoother. But it doesn't take very much. Okay, so that's a nice green for a center pistil. And dip it in the glue again. And then roll it on the back of my hand like I did before. It's a quick way to apply a lot of glue and yet keep it off your hands. So I'll make a log and flatten it. And I usually put it up there. It doesn't really matter where you start with the clay. You just have to work it up or down the wire. And this does take practice. This is not something you're going to get overnight. A lot of people will just buy pre-made anthers and pistils, which is fine. And the pistil's usually a little thicker, so, and at the tip of it, I kind of make a teardrop, like a Q-tip, I guess I should say, shape at the top. Work this downwards. It's a little thick right there. It's probably long enough, so I'll pinch that off. And then I'll go back, and now that it's the right thickness, I'll just smooth it out with my fingers. So I'm not really pulling down, I'm just rolling it back and forth so it smooths it out. And I'm going to use a little bit of water on the tip because I've got some wrinkles. And I'll just smooth that out. The water does make it kind of tacky though. Okay, so I'm just going to dust it with a little cornstarch to get rid of that tackiness. There's two ways to get rid of tackiness. You can use cornstarch or you can use the aleenes. And then I'm going to use my wedge-shaped silicone shaper again. And I'm going to divide the tip into thirds. So I'll bring that cut down the sides. It's hard to show you and work on it. Okay, so that looks pretty good to me. I would like this to bump out a little more, but that's pretty good. Okay, so, and then you can take this cover. Oops, I got yellow clay up in there. I want that. Wow. Okay. Clean that off. Just get my floral tape. This is floral tape. This is what I use to put all my petals and stems together. Normally I would let everything dry before I would put it together, but for the video's sake, I'm going to try to put it together ahead of time. So I'm folding the tape in half so that I can cut it lengthwise, because if you wrap your wires with that much tape, you're going to have way too much bulk. So I'm going to check my video, see how much time I have left. Looks like this is running really long. Okay, so we'll start with this, and we will stick these together. I think I'll move these down just a little bit. And stick that one on there. So I'm kind of bending them outward and putting one around. Actually, I need to start with the first one. Getting ahead of myself. Okay, so you lay your tape on there with your finger and you hold it and kind of press down. And you turn and twist. And what happens is when you pull this tape, there's like a wax that is impregnated into the tape. And it makes that wax sticky then when you pull on it. The tape stretches and gets sticky. Okay, so I've got that wrapped a couple times, and then I'll add in the next one. And then wrap it around once. And then I'll add in, so you can tell this one's wet, but I'm trying not to smudge it too much. And then I'll wrap that one. Okay, got that wrapped. And then we got 3. There's 4. There's usually 6 pistils, I think. And 5. And we'll do number 6. Okay, and then we'll start with the petals. Straighten your wire out a little bit. Just going to straighten my wire. That's where I bent it so I could hang it up on the shelf. Straighten that a little bit. Okay. And you can kind of see the bottom of that one. And you can move it up or down. You know, if your stamens or your pistils too long, you can move it up or down. But I'm pretty happy with that. So I'm going to start with that. Wrap it around once. Okay, then the next one, you want to place, if this one's on top, then the next one has to be basically underneath, like it's underneath of the first one. Okay, so wrap that around once. Then take your next one, and it's going to go over top. You see how so it makes this one be towards the bottom. You kind of squish them up a little bit. Okay. And then the next one you're going to put underneath. See how that's coming together? Okay, and then this one goes on top. Gonna have to wedge it in there. Okay, and then the last one goes underneath. So, get this. I think getting the last one in there is always the hardest. Okay, so you can squeeze that together a little bit. Okay, so you wrap that around and then you start to bring your tape downward. And we'll go back through over it with a little bit more tape, because I've got some spaces there. I should have covered better. So you can see that tape went pretty far. That was only half of it. And getting it unfolded is the trick. Okay, so I'm going to lay it on there, put my finger down, twist, and that's enough to get it started. And then I'll twist it. I'm actually going to go upward first. And then I'll switch angles and go back downward, so that actually covers where I started the tape. And just twist and roll all the way down. And from here, you could decide to add more clay on top of this floral tape, or you can just leave the floral tape. And there you have it. This is the regal lily. And you can rearrange your stamens and your pistil. I don't want to mess with that pistil too much because it's still soft. All right. Thank you so much for joining me, and I hope you enjoyed it. Bye.